Steady abidance as the self is the natural state. It is not natural to imagine the one self as if it were divided, and to consider oneself as distinct from that self or God, which is Brahman, the vast absolute. Steady abidance as the self is a matter of self-knowledge. Knowing what in truth our existence actually is. If we take what is subject to modification to be the self, if we mix up what is not the self with the self, then quite obviously there will not be steady knowledge, and there will not be steady happiness or peace. If we inquire and know ourselves as we are, we find that which is the essence of steadiness itself, the forever unmodified, unchanging real nature, which is being, consciousness, bliss. This being, consciousness, bliss, this true existence, is in truth forever undivided. An Upanishad says that where there is a second, there is fear. That is, where one imagines there is something other, a second, there is fear. There is the fear of the loss of happiness, the loss of existence. No one wishes to go out of existence, for everyone intuits that his happiness lies in his existence and is identical with it. Bliss and being are synonymous. If there is something other than the one self, the infinite and eternal, unmodified existence, then that something other must be for someone. So when the Upanishad says a second, it refers to that one, as well as all the duality streaming forth from that one. If we assume as our identity that individual being, that second, then Brahman, or the real self, will seem as if it at a distance from us, and we will conceive of self-realization, or liberation as it is called, as if it were an event in time, perhaps in the future. As the Maharshi points out, if we assume the position of the second, that is, the individual jiva or individual ego, then we will see all kinds of multiplicity, all kinds of divisions, such as the knower, the knowing, and the known, the experiencer, the experiencing, and the thing experienced, the division between the universe, the supreme, and oneself. But Sri Bhagavan also says it is only so long as that individual is taken to be one's identity that such triads seem to exist. In truth, everything without exception is only the one undivided self-existence. How to abide steadily in the knowledge of that existence? That is what is important to know. As long as you assume yourself to be the individual who goes in and out of the self, how will there be steady abidance? That ignorant notion itself prevents the steady knowledge. If that notion were abandoned due to self-inquiry, profound self-inquiry, then the knowledge would be identical with your being, yourself identical with the self, with no other, no second, to experience anything else at any time. In other words, no second to imagine the delusion that gives rise to bondage and suffering. So, can you go into the self? Have you come out of the self? Can you be separate from God or Brahman? That you can say, I know that, or I don't know that? Similarly with all phenomena. Who is the individual who says, I know it, whatever the it is? Whatever the phenomenon is, from subtle thought down to sensed objects. Who is it that says, I know, I experience, I perceive? If the individual is existing, duality could be true. Inquire deeply within yourself, focused upon your own existence, and examine what composes your supposed individuality. The existence of the self is itself perfectly steady. It is without birth. It is without death. It is unembodied. It is unconceived. Imagine through delusion that you are or are connected with what is perceived and conceived, the mind and the body. And your happiness, your peace, while your very existence itself seems unsteady. And likewise, your knowledge of yourself is thus obscured. All the while, your real being, unembodied, unconceived, is unchanged, shining ever as pure consciousness, perfectly full, for it is never modified. Do you thus understand what you are? If you have doubts about it, or there is wavering in your experience, for whom are such doubts? For whom is such wavering? The supposed or assumed individual is himself the wavering. Inquire as to know what that one is, and you will find no individual at all. Just endless being, endless consciousness. The Purnam or perfect fullness.